The Bible of any home renovation project is the master document detailing all of the work to be done, the scope of work. It's not all you need, but without it, you are doomed. Welcome to Reno Recon. I'm Rosanna. I'm a television producer who's worked on HGTV shows over the last 15 years, here to give you some tips on planning your own home reno. I've set up 3 key steps to plan a major home renovation. Of course, there could easily be more than a dozen steps, but these will hopefully get you out of analysis paralysis and help get your renovation done. These 3 steps are geared towards large-scale renovations, hiring professional tradespeople, but it's still useful for anyone who's interested in updating a home. In this video, we are diving into step number 3 of 3, develop the scope of work. Buckle up, because this one is hefty. By now, you've set your budget with a contingency fund, and you've listed all the spaces in your home that you'd like to renovate with what you'd like to change. At this stage, you can head right into developing the scope of work, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention another option, which is getting a consultation. Your best bet is to call a contractor, or 2 or 3, and ask what they charge. I suggest that you insist on paying for it, even if they offer it to you for free, because you want to be comfortable about taking your time with them and getting their honest feedback without upselling or feeling compelled to have to use that contractor once you're ready. Have the contractor come over, go through the spaces from your list from step number 2, and take notes. You will get valuable insight on costs, ideas on how to achieve your look, and maybe learn some things you didn't even know about, like potential problems. Having second or third opinions gives you that much more to learn from. They might say the same things, they might say different things, but the experience will definitely help you develop an accurate scope of work for your budget. Whether you get a consult or not, you'll need to get your home measured. I think it's worth paying to get this done professionally. This typically costs somewhere between $500 to $1,000, depending on the size of your home. What you want to end up with are the full drawings of your home's interiors, or exteriors too, if you plan on doing a major reno. These are the measurements of every wall, window, doorway, closet, kitchen cabinets, etc. These are known as the as-built drawings. So if you're searching online for businesses that do this, as-built drawings will be your keywords. If you're keen, you're good with a measuring tape, and you can draw well, by all means, you can tackle this yourself. You definitely should if you're just renovating a room or 2. Just beware that doing this will take you much longer than you bargained for. If you're hiring a designer, the process for this might be a bit different. She, he, or they could do the as-built drawings for you. You could still compare the cost of getting this done separately, but it's probably going to be cheaper with your designer to bulk price it with the other things you're asking for. Having as-builts will speed up the time it takes to get a contractor to quote on your scope of work, and it'll be more accurate. For example, if you want to replace the flooring and trim throughout your home, all the contractor has to do is calculate the linear feet based on the drawings. Once you have your as-built, it's time to prepare the proposed drawings for the final plans. If you don't have a designer, it's still worth trying to sketch what you have in mind for the final plans, even if it's just for furniture placement, but it's not necessary. There are different programs and apps that can help you plot out your ideas, or just good old-fashioned paper. Do an image search online of floor plans to learn how to draw all the elements. Having proposed plans helps make your ideas clear when getting a contractor to give you an estimate. Now, a few notes about hiring a designer, because it's inextricable when discussing the scope of work. If you're not hiring a designer or you have zero interest, you can skip ahead in the timestamps to Spreadsheets. In my experience, most people don't even consider hiring a designer because they think they can do it on their own. And you can, depending on what you want and with the right preparation. Some people aren't looking for a designer result, or they think they can't afford one. You could hire a designer to plan everything, including your scope of work. You'd still have to go through steps number 1 and 2 to set your budget and list the spaces you want to renovate. A designer might not be as costly as you think, and they can help you save costs. I will warn you about asking a designer just to draft up drawings for what you hope to get done, especially if you haven't done steps number 1 and 2. That's because just getting those plans done to see what your ideas look like doesn't mean you can afford them. Drafting up ideas is one thing, sourcing all the materials to use and knowing the cost of labor to install them is another. And that is where not all designers are created equal. I will go more in depth with designers in future videos, but to be efficient, consider this. There's no point in spending hundreds or thousands of dollars hiring a professional, whether that's a designer, an architect, or a structural engineer, who will draw up your hopes and dreams only for you to get crushed by the reality that you can't afford it. Designers, don't attack me. I say this because I've known a number of people who've asked a designer to draft up their dream plans and end up with expensive drawings they can't use because it's unachievable. Typically, a budget was never set. A curious homeowner simply asked a designer to show them what's possible based on what they want to get done. Anything's possible with the right budget, and if you didn't set one, the homeowner gets a contractor to quote on the plans, and voila, it's way out of reach. Not every designer is going to dig deep and ask you questions to figure out what you ultimately want to achieve and warn you if you can't afford it. Everyone's got to make a living, and time is money. Not all designers are experienced with building and renovation costs, so even if you do set a budget, you could still get design plans that aren't achievable. Not all designers are familiar with the general cost of professional fees. If you want to move walls, for example, you might need an architect or an engineer who charges their own separate fee to do the set of drawings that are required to get the building permit. That usually runs into the thousands of dollars. I recommend working with designers. I wouldn't do a renovation without one. I just don't hire one only to draw up dream plans. If you've got the money, go for it. You make the right choice for you. To learn more about working with designers, keep an eye out for future videos. Okay, next it's spreadsheet time. Miss Excel, if you've got ideas on how to improve this template, give me a call. I'll eventually have a website where this template will be available for download, but in the meantime, shoot me a DM at RenoRecon and I'll try to get a copy out to you. You're going to create a spreadsheet where you'll populate it with all the info from your list from step number 2 and then some. First, you're going to title it and create categories. These are the categories contractors typically use to price out a project. You'll title the document with all the right information. You will likely get at least 2 contractors to give you an estimate on this scope of work, so be sure to correctly enter each contractor's name and info. The more necessary details you include, the better. For example, if you know you want a 36-inch fridge, note the sizing in the appliances section. Listing out every detail also helps your contractor remember to provide a cost for every item instead of leaving it until the end and tacking it onto your bill. It's important to note design elements that require specific framing, electrical, and plumbing, as these happen early on after demolition. These trades are expensive to bring back for things that you forget and why measurements need to be accurate. That's why I hire a designer. They'll draw up demolition plans, electrical and light switching plans, and proposed final plans with furniture placement, so I know what size sofas, tables, or beds are going to fit. Can you tell how much I respect qualified designers? So be sure to note any of these specifics so you don't forget. For example, if you want to mount a TV on a specific wall at a certain height, you're going to make note of that in the electrical section so the electrician installs the outlet in the right spot to ensure it's concealed. You might also want to note wall blocking required in the framing section so you have the proper support behind the wall to mount the TV on. I had a project once where the homeowners wanted to be able to install special toilet seats that required an electrical outlet by the toilet. If these toilet seats were only thought about halfway through the project, they would have had to pay for the electrician to come back, as it's an unusual spot to install an outlet. See how much forward thinking you need to have done in step number 2. So think about whether you want details like a pot water filler over the stove, hot and cold water to run a bidet next to the toilet, bedside wall light sconces, exterior water hookups for hoses, or a gas line run for a barbecue, that kind of thing. Let's go through a sample scope of work together. This is our spreadsheet. I want to give a shout out to designer Vandna Bicanic and designer and project manager Dave Roche, who helped come up with this particular spreadsheet for a project that we worked on together. In the top left-hand corner, I've created a legend for highlights for any special notes throughout the project, as well as the budget summary on top, so it gives you a quick snapshot so you don't have to scroll all the time to the bottom in order to get this information. The rows are divided into our separate categories or sections for how the contractor usually prices the project. In the columns, we've got quantity, units. I don't tend to use those as much, but I like to have it there. Some contractors like it. Labor cost, materials, finishes and fixtures. Materials and finishes and fixtures can differ in the sense that the finishes and fixtures are things like light fixtures, hardware, the type of flooring you're going to use, or the appliances. Materials are things that the contractor usually needs to have in order to execute that job. So for example, in the painting section, finishes and fixtures would have perhaps the cost of the paint, but the materials might be the brushes, the rollers, trays, drop cloths, anything else that the contractor would need to do that. I like having an overages and savings section. Sometimes prices drastically go up or down after the estimate has been signed off on, and this is a quick and easy spot for the contractor to make note of those. Now I'm going to go zoom in on this so that you can take a look at the detail. I love general notes in every section. It keeps everybody accountable and highlights things that might not belong in any other row, like snow plowing or lawn maintenance, because contractors, they're going to track in and out. There's going to probably be some damage to your lawn if you live on a property with one. Existing roller screens like in line 29 here, you might be repurposing blinds, window treatments, and it's going to be easier for the contractor to take them down and put them back up. Bin and waste removal. So this is your dumpster bins. What is the cost of that? The waste removal is usually done at the transfer station when the bin is on the scale. You've got to decide, is the contractor going to make an estimate on what that's going to cost and include it? Or do you want to add it on afterwards, after the bins have already gone? Portable toilet. If you're renovating all of the bathrooms in your home, the contractor and his team are going to need somewhere to go do their business. That cost has to be in there. This particular project needed permits from an engineer. So we've got the cost of permit drawings in there and the permit fees from the city. As you'll see here, I don't have any of those individual numbers listed out because depending on where you live, these numbers are going to be very different. And so I don't want it to be misleading for anybody. Next is your demolition category. So general notes here, there was a demolition plan that the designer had done, so that was to be followed. And then we're going to note, remove existing all trims and baseboard, remove all existing flooring, remove and dispose of all existing light fixtures. This is the amount of detail I am talking about. Everything is written down that has to happen so that the contractor doesn't have to guess when he's on site, just looks at this scope of work, AKA the Bible, and knows what's happening. After the general notes, we're going to move through the spaces. So we've got our rooms, entry, laundry. Laundry has a highlight on it. This is for something that is not actually getting demolished. It's getting moved, but it's something to note. You can create your own legend that works for you for what each highlighted color means. And in this case, this is about, the TBD or more info required. We have our bathroom, kitchen, living room, hallway, bathroom number 2, bedroom number 3. And it's going through everything that is getting demolished. Anything that's not listed here is to be kept. That's what that detail is for. Then you've got your framing section. General note here, everything is supposed to be done to plan. And then you go through all of your rooms again. Keep the list of the rooms in the same order per section, just makes it easier to read. And you'll see here, for example, in the kitchen on line number 150, frame for new half wall at 40.5 inches for island and bar height countertop. All of those details, the measurements include everything that you know. Next section to note, drywall. This goes with all of the plans written by the designer, but again, you want to include every section that has anything to do with the plan so that this can be the singular document the contractor has to go to for details. There are other documents like the demolition plan, electrical and light switching plan, etc. So like I said, it's not the only thing you need, but it's the main document. Insulation is there, plumbing for all of the rooms that you need listed. You'll see here that there are notes like the fixture installation, kitchen faucet, dishwasher, etc. All of these items are also noted on a finish and fixture document. I will get into one of those in a future video. Here's the electrical section. Again, general notes. Maybe you want to have, like you can see here on line 253, maybe you want all of your lights installed with dimmers, or maybe you want certain rooms to only have dimmers. Be sure to note that. Those are all important things for the electrician to be aware of. Another detail for electrical you might want to include is this one here on line 270, which has USB ports. So many people have devices now that get charged with a USB. You got to remember that to have the correct outlet plate installed for it in the specific locations that you'd like. Under cabinet lighting is another detail to think about. The next section we have listed is HVAC and mechanical. In this particular project, we had a new fireplace and a new ductless unit for AC and heat, so we had to make sure to include it. You'll see that NA, not applicable, is listed in the description because it lets the contractor know we haven't forgotten about these rooms. There's just no HVAC or mechanical to note there. If you leave that empty, it leaves that question open. Don't leave questions open. There's a windows and exterior doors section. You'll note on 345, we have even the detail of the side of the hinge of the door. No detail left untouched. Having lines highlighted helps you remember any details or rooms where there are additional notes. Even if you don't write every single thing out here, it's that point of reference to call back to. You've got a kitchen and bathroom fixture. This is where we can note the height of the vanity, the towel bar, toilet paper holder, hooks. Everything is listed. You'll see here in the kitchen and bathroom fixtures that there are a lot of these bracketed notes with installation listed under category 6, plumbing. This is because we don't want to list things twice and duplicate the estimate, doubling the amount of money that you're going to spend. So even though there are a lot of things to note in these rooms, those are going to be mostly under plumbing. Lighting fixtures. When you have your finish and fixture schedule, this is going to be a different document that is like an appendix to your scope of work. That's going to note all of your lights, all of the fixtures, hardware, etc. So this clarifies exactly which item is going where, just in case there is any doubt. You've got custom millwork for your kitchen, any cabinetry that's specially getting done for the space. Appliances, noting all the appliances that we're going to add into the project. Countertops, flooring, tile. This project had exterior masonry work, carpentry, trim, and interior doors. how many doors, what goes where. This can also be a great reference for your finish and fixture schedule to make sure they align. So for example, here on the entry, we've got supply and install 2 interior closet doors. The contractor should be able to go through this list, double cross it with the finish and fixture schedule, and all the numbers should align. You could also use this quantity column to list it out. It just gives you another section to remember to edit when it comes time to that. It's up to you. Paint and wallpaper. This also reminds the contractor to factor in things like rollers, brushes, trays, drop cloths, etc., just in case those aren't already included. Landscaping, exteriors, final cleaning related costs, furniture, accessories, etc. At the bottom, you've got this section where you and the contractor are going to sign on this agreement. In case there is ever a discrepancy, maybe you have a couple of versions of your scope of work, updates to it, you want to know which is the one the contractor is going to use, and signing and dating it is going to make that very clear. And there you have it. This finishes my step number 3 of planning your home renovation. There are so many other details we're gonna get into, but now you're armed with the basics of how to get going. Avoid the vicious cycle of wasted time, procrastination, and inflation that makes you regret not starting sooner. I wish you the best of luck, and I can't wait to hear about it.